Did you know that you can grow potatoes whether you have a garden or not? They're such a simple crop to grow, and you can grow them in pots, burlap sacks, or even grow bags. And it's actually my preferred way of growing potatoes is in grow bags. So today I wanted to show you how you can grow potatoes in a container. So that way, whether you live in an apartment, a condo, or don't even have your own garden, you too can be growing potatoes. If you're new here, my name is Bree from Urban Gardening Canada, and I garden in Ottawa Zone 5. We are on day 2 of a crazy windy day. I think it's storms that are coming up from the middle of America. I've been watching a lot of tornado live streams that's been happening. And so we've been getting a lot of wind up here. And so we are going to be battling a little bit of wind in this video, but I'm hoping that it turns out okay and that we are going to be able to grow potatoes together. I started a potato inside already, so you can see the beautiful growth on it. And there's just one potato in here, and look at how many roots are already coming out of it. I couldn't believe it when I picked this up to bring this out here to video for you guys, just how big the root system already was. And so I'm going to show you how you can turn this potato into a whole bowl of potatoes for yourself later this season. So later in this video, I'm going to show you exactly the type of bags I use and how to plant them. But first, I want to talk about how exactly you can plant potatoes. And so they're different than your other vegetables where you don't plant seeds. Although you can actually plant seeds, this is not the traditional way that you grow potatoes. And so there's 2 different ways that you can get your hands on potatoes to grow for the season. The first is to buy seed potatoes. I've done this once or twice before, but I don't recommend it because it's actually really, really expensive to buy seed potatoes. The only reason that you're going to be doing this is if you want a very specific variety that you can't find at your local grocery store or farmer's market. However, if you go to a farmer's market, you can get a wide variety of potatoes now. So I really don't recommend getting seed potatoes because of that cost. And then the second way that you can grow potatoes is by using grocery store or farmer's market bought potatoes. I really, really recommend getting organic potatoes because they won't be sprayed with a sprouting inhibitor on them, which means that they'll be easier to plant. So this is just a basic white potato that I got from the grocery store. It's organic, and you can see that it's already sprouting. And that's exactly what I planted in here. I just took a whole potato and I just stuck it in the ground here, and you can see that it's already growing. And so you can either go to a farmer's market or a grocery store to pick out whatever variety that you want to grow. And this is going to save you so much money in comparison to buying seed potatoes. So there technically are 3 types of potatoes. There's early, mid, and late season potatoes. And it doesn't have anything to do about when you plant your potatoes, but actually how long that they take to come to harvest. And so you're going to want to plant your potatoes around now, which is April. So that way you get the maximum amount of time. And of course, when you're buying from a grocery store or a farmer's market, you can't find out if they're early, mid, or late season potatoes unless your farmer's market labels them. Then you can Google it quickly. When you're buying seed potatoes, you do get the choice on the early, mid, and late season. And really the only difference is how long they take to harvest, which early season is around 75 days and late season is 135 days to harvest, with your mid season being in the middle. However, every single potato that I've ever bought in this area is going to be something that is the right length of harvest time for your area because the farmers are in your area. So you shouldn't have to worry about this. They were able to harvest in time, and so should you. So a question that you might have is there a specific potato that can be grown in bags or containers in comparison to the other ones? And the answer to that is nope, you can grow anything you want. The only difference with growing in containers versus in the ground is that container potatoes tend to be smaller. So if you go to the grocery store and you buy a big Yukon potato or a russet potato, that one isn't going to grow to the same size as what you bought it to because they tend to grow smaller in containers. So although you can grow it in your container or your grow bag, I would recommend growing smaller varieties. And the nice thing about them is they're just a really fun dinner when you do get those smaller potatoes. And so the reason that I love growing potatoes in bags, the first is that it's just really fun to do. And I like the idea of the bags because they're so much easier for maintenance and for harvesting, because when you go to harvest them, you just dump the bag into a wheelbarrow and then you can pick out the potatoes from there. It's so much easier. The second is if you live in an area that doesn't get full sun, and potatoes love full sun, growing them in bags means that you can move them around wherever the sun is. So if you live in an apartment that has a balcony that only gets sun on one side during the morning and sun on the other side during the afternoon, you can literally just move the bags over, and that's going to give your potatoes full sun whether you have it or not. And the last reason is that I don't like planting potatoes in my gardens because I'm a big advocate for intercropping, which means that I grow multiple vegetables in one space. So in order to harvest my potatoes, it means that I would have to dig up all the soil in my raised beds in order to dig them up, which A, is disruptive to all of the plants that I'm growing. And if they're not ready to be harvested yet, how am I supposed to harvest my potatoes? And B, disrupting the soil is really bad on the bacteria and all of the microorganisms that are living inside of the soil. So I really don't like the concept of disturbing my soil. So therefore, growing in bags specifically for potatoes means that I'm not disrupting my garden and I'm not disrupting the life in my soil. So before we get into how to plant potatoes, I did want to mention that I have a gardening course available for sale, and it's all about building a stronger garden. Today is the perfect day to talk about it because it is so windy out. And it's all about building a garden that can withstand these winds that we're getting, or hail, or heavy rainstorms, or whatever the weather is throwing at us this year. This course is self-paced. It's perfect for gardeners if you are anywhere from 3 to 10 years worth of gardening, and it teaches you everything from picking the right seed all the way to harvesting seeds and how to do it in an environmentally friendly way, because the weather is just getting out of control and we need to work with both climate change while also fighting it. And so that's exactly what this is about. And as grocery prices get more expensive, we need to protect our garden harvest because we can't afford to be losing our harvest to any type of weather. And so this course is going to help you battle the bad weather, because our gardens are meant to take some of that stress off of us as prices are increasing. So if you're interested in my course, there is a free preview where you can get a couple lectures for free. So why not take advantage of the free courses? And I will put a link to that in the description below. All right, let's get back into the video. I'm going to show you now what type of pots you're going to want to use and how to go about planting them and what steps you need to do from now until harvest, so that way you too can grow a ton of potatoes. So the first thing is picking the right container. And so I like to grow in these grow bags here. This is a 10-gallon grow bag. And what's different about this one compared to the one that I have over here is that this one is narrower and taller, which means that I have more space to plant my potatoes down here, and I can hill them up over here, versus this bag over here, you won't have as much space for hilling, and the more you hill, the more potatoes you're going to get. So as I mentioned before, you're going to want to plant them in April, and good news, it's April. So now is a great time to be planting them. So you can do it together with me while you're watching this video. So all you need to plant your potatoes is a nice size bag or container, and of course your potatoes. And there's two ways that you can plant your potatoes. You can plant them whole the way that I did, or you can cut them up into different pieces, but you're going to want to make sure that every single piece has an eye on it. And that's where you see that it's sprouting from your potato. So you're going to want to fill up your container just 1/4 with soil. So potatoes like a sandy, well-draining soil, but right now this is the only soil that I have, so I am going to be using this. However, because my pots are fabric, it means that they're going to dry out a lot faster and not hold as much water in them. So I'm not too worried about my soil because of the fabric bags. However, if you're planting in a plastic container, you definitely want a more sandy soil. And now you have two options. You can put them in whole or you can cut them up. And I am going to put them whole in this bag for today because that's just how I like to plant mine. But we'll do a second bag where I cut them up. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cover them in some soil so that way they're fully covered. And even though they're sprouting on there, you might think that you shouldn't be fully covering them, but that's exactly what you want to do. And so it's important that you don't fill up the bag too much before you plant your potatoes because you want them to continue to grow up so you can hill them inside of the bag. If your soil is really dry, you can go ahead and give them a bit of a watering, but you don't want to water them too much because, of course, wet soil will rot the tubers. And so in my case, my soil has moisture in it, so I'm not going to water them right now. I'm going to let them sprout a little bit. And so what happens is your potato is going to start sprouting and it's going to produce these leaves that you see here. And once your potato grows about 4 to 6 inches, you're going to want to add more soil to the bag. And when you add your soil, you can actually fill it to the point that you've covered up the greens fully. You don't have to let it show any of it. You just cover it right up until it's right above those green leaves, and they're just going to shoot right up again and continue to grow. So don't worry that you're not drowning them or anything. They're just going to continue to grow, which is what's so amazing about them. And so you're going to want to continue to hill your potatoes until your bag is full, until there's about 1 inch of space left, because of course you need space to add water to your bag. So you don't want to fill it up where every single time you water, it overflows soil outside of the bag. And then once it's reached the top of the bag, you don't have to hill them anymore. You're going to allow them to continue to grow until the point that they flower. And so flowering is a good thing for your potatoes. It signals that they're almost ready to be harvested, but not quite yet. So you're going to allow your potatoes to finish flowering, and then all of a sudden you're going to notice that the plant is starting to yellow and die back. So you have 2 options at this point. The first is that you can harvest your potatoes as soon as you notice that the greenery is dying, but that is for fresh potatoes where you're going to eat them probably that week or within a couple weeks. That's when you're going to want to harvest them. But if you're growing enough potatoes that you want to store them, you do not want to harvest your potatoes yet. As the greenery is dying and starts tipping over and wilting, you can cut them back at the base and leave your potatoes in the bag from anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. And during that time, it's going to tell the plant to thicken its skin so that way it's better for storing. So it really just depends on how you plan on using your potatoes. If you're like me, I don't grow a ton of potatoes, so it's totally fine for me to harvest them right away because I'm going to eat my potatoes within a couple of weeks. I don't grow that many. It's more just, I like to grow them for fun because potatoes are one of the most fun vegetables that you could be growing. But if you do grow enough that you want to store them, then you're going to want to cut it back and wait the 1 to 3 weeks for the skins to harden. All right, since we're still getting some snow and freezing rain around here, I am going to put these 2 containers into my shed for the time being. There's a window in there, so they'll get a little bit of light, but I am going to check on them in about a week's time to see how they're growing, and then I can bring them back outside and start watering them again. And I'm hoping in a week from now the weather's going to be a ton better, but we still have snow on the ground here, and so I am going to go do that now. All right, so one of the other fun parts about growing potatoes is that you grow potatoes from potatoes, which means that if you want to grow potatoes next year and you want to grow them from your own potatoes, you're first going to want to make sure that you wait for the skins to thicken so that way you can store them over the winter. But this just means that whatever potatoes you harvest this year, technically you can plant them to grow more potatoes for next year. And since you can grow potatoes in bags and they don't require pollinators, you can even try and grow potatoes indoors with a grow light over the winter and see if you can get more potatoes, because why not try that fun experiment? And that's everything for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check out this video here. Bye.